Welcome back. It's day 20 of Yes Inc.'s 27th anniversary sweepstakes. You did not hear the bell, and that means we don't have a sweepstakes winner today. We need a combined 100 new unique entries in our sweepstakes every day to do a drawing, so keep watching and telling your friends and family. As a reminder, we will post videos every day at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. If we have 100 new entries in our sweepstakes by 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, we will do a random drawing and the winner will be contacted by 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Winners will have 1 hour to respond to claim their winnings. If winners do not respond within 1 hour, we will randomly select another winner, so be on the lookout and make sure to include your email and phone number if commenting on YouTube. In today's video, you will not hear Yes Inc. history, but you will hear amazing interviews from highly effective educators.
My name is Ty Grant, a Yes Inc. team member. Welcome to the next 27 days between January the 7th and February the 2nd, 2022, of listening, learning, and earning a possible $1,000 when we have at least 100 new listeners, learning, and earning each day from January 7th through February the 2nd, so that you could possibly end up with $1,000 of our $27,000 anniversary cash.
In this segment, we will share successes of Yes Inc. participants. Listen carefully for all the compelling reasons to apply to our intensive educator preparation program. My name is Kellen Begin, Director of Communications at Youth Empowerment Services, Yes Inc. Today we have Anita Linville, a Yes Inc. participant and effective educator. Let's hear about how Anita is impacting education.
I went into teaching because I immediately knew my why after having been a personal trainer for about 5 years. And my why is that I discovered that kids have voices, and and when I mean voices, I don't mean necessarily verbal voices that they just need to use all the time, but more so I mean they have ideas and they have concepts and they have things that they want to kind of get out into the world. And sometimes we as adults, we don't necessarily lend that listening ear to be able to allow them space to do that. So that initially probably was my first initial reason. And it kind of still centers around the same concept, even though I'm applying academic teaching as well as social and some other things that kind of fall under the same umbrella. It still takes me to a place where I am so aware that children have voices. And that's why I decided to become a teacher. I know this answer just like that. You know what it was? Yes has taught me how to be very reflective. And I have carried that throughout my teaching career. I'm carrying that throughout my life career. It says something when an individual just takes time and kind of thinks about those things that went well, those things that did not go so well, and really allow space to kind of garner some solution so that you don't run into the same problem again. I think that many times as human beings, we sometimes are confronted with problems and we get so, I don't know, frustrated or disappointed or whatever that problem may provide to us, that I don't think we give ourselves time to really kind of think through it so that we're able to get to a solution. So yes, has really taught me how to be reflective. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a problem solution situation, but having been taught to really kind of identify through reflection, whatever it is that I'm trying to figure out, it has shown me how to slow down and be very intentional about those things that I'm thinking about. And I know that in education, we use this word called metacognitive. And so we want our kids to think about what they're thinking about. And I think that that same mindset kind of falls under what Yes has taught me. And I'm super reflective. And I don't know, in fact, I know I would not have been had I not participated in the program. Well, I will tell you, I have learned that I am like the cheerleader of the school. I've gotten enthusiastic awards, and I think my students, as well as the staff, my coworkers, know that I bring a lot of joy into the building, and I do so intentionally because I know that if they can count on me showing up with a big old smile on my face, with joy in my heart, and I know that may even sound cliche, but I'm very intentional about bringing that into the classroom. I think as a result of that, I have really, really good classroom management without having to do a lot of yelling. My relationship with my colleagues are really, I have a lot of support from them. So I think that speaks to being intentional about bringing the joy into the building. So if I had to specifically say, what do my colleagues and students say or think about my teaching style? I know that they know that I'm super energetic. I'm always excited to be there. My kids have told me I'm the coolest teacher they've ever had. So I'm sure they say that to all their kids, all their teachers, but it sounds good. My colleagues are very, very, very supportive. And I know that that comes with a mindset of bringing joy, because you have to be open-minded to, just go through whatever the issues of the day kind of bring about. So with that said, they would say I'm super hyper, super enthusiastic, and super intentional about bringing the joy. That's what I would say. I would say that they must. They must apply to the IEP program, because what YES does is that in being or teaching reflection, they also, of course, the pedagogy is aligned with that kind of that mindset opportunity to kind of be being taught of being reflective. I think that unless you are specifically honing in on being mindful and doing those things, that you're not going to just automatically kind of go to that place where you have to kind of think about reflection. I think that that was a big, big takeaway. And I know that as a participant of YES, that was one of the things that was really, really, really just pounded into the ground. I remember being reflective when I first started YES Inc. I thought, well, why in the world is it so important? We even had our IEPs and our journals that we wrote in. And we, as I was going through the journal day by day by day while in the program, I started writing down things that I really, really kind of thought about in passing, but realized I really needed to apply a lot more thought than I had. And had I not been taught how to be reflective, I may have missed that opportunity to really kind of dive in and go deep and, think about whatever it is that I'm being reflective on. I would say that yes, Youth Empowerment Services also provides a very realistic expectation of what it's like to be a teacher. I feel like there is you guys don't candy coat it at all. However, you do bring the immense excitement about being an educator. So the program within itself is very, very balanced, so that you don't walk away feeling like, oh, they just want me to be a teacher because we need more teachers. You don't feel that way. And nor do you feel like, oh, this is not a profession that I ever want to get into, because that joy is also, mentioned as well. I think overall, one of the things that I loved about it being a YES participant is that the balance that's applied in educating future effective educators. At the end, cut blank period. The reason why any person who is trying to get into education must participate in the IEP program are two reasons specifically, and I'm chunking them because y'all have taught me how to be clear and concise in my communication, so I'm chunking it now. One, they teach you how to be reflective, and that's just going to carry over into more than just your teaching. And two, the balance that's provided in the education that you guys provide to educators is very realistic. It is also optimistic at the same time. It is a beautiful balance of joy and realistic expectations that also kind of fall up under the umbrella of joy as well. But you don't feel like you're being pushed one way or the other. You feel like you're being given all of the information that you need to be given to be effective. But at the end, overall, they leave it up to you to make the decision. However, I will tell you this. Once you go through the program, there will be no question. You will not only want to be a teacher, but you'll be super excited about being a teacher, because now you are a teacher that is going to be able to use tools that you may not have been able to have access to had you kind of gone the traditional route. Tools such as cultural relevant, teaching. That is something, a big takeaway from Yes. And that's so necessary because we live in a diverse world, but that's not a tool that we necessarily get in college or, while we're going through the whole curriculum of how to become a teacher. So those are three powerful reasons that I decided that youth empowerment services was necessary for me, and anyone wanting to be an effective educator, I think needs to go through the program. I would like to say, without tooting my horn, but toot, I have become a very effective educator because of youth empowerment services. And
Share with you. My name is Michelle Foreman, and I have been an educator for the last 19 years. And out of those 19 and a half years, 14 years as a school leader. I'm originally from Oceanside, California, and I've lived in Houston, Texas now for the last 17 years for career purposes. And I do like it here in Houston, but deep down, I'm a Southern California girl, born and raised, and I like education. I believe that all children are entitled to an equal and equity. That's our really big push right now, education. And where I've been at as a school leader, those types of schools where children are coming in already behind the curve, they have marks against them, society's already checked them off. And my soul says you are here to help those students along with your teachers. So effective teaching leads to effective learning. And when children have effective teachers and effective learning, they can be anything they want to be. And as a school leader, that's something that is instilled in them from myself. Your circumstances, they don't have to define who you are or take you to where you want to be. You can determine who you are and where you want to go. So I really believe in that from the very core of who I am as a person. Education is very big and very important to me. Well, what I really learned from the effective educator process was you have to have buy-in from your teachers. And so that was the starting point. So I learned from a complete buy-in where you have to start with the culture and the climate of a school. And that was one of the things that we really truly worked on was the culture and the climate. Not saying it was bad, but we wanted to make it better because the goal as an educator is to always enhance on what you're doing. But the biggest thing was the core values that our teachers agreed on, where we held everyone accountable from myself to basically the janitor or the school secretary. We had core values. And our number one core value was to be clear is to be kind. So communication was very clear, and accountability was one of the core values where we had the effective educators process where I was as a leader. And I took that to heart. And because we had complete buy-in, we saw such a change in our school. So that is the big takeaway I learned from the effective educator process. Also, where we had unit meetings, very imperative, leadership meetings, and being consistent in those unit meetings and the leadership meetings. We had them once a week because in the effective educators process, we had 30 unit meetings and 30 leadership meetings. And we were consistent, and every year we evolved to be better. Where the leadership, we met bright and early at 6:30 a.m. in the morning on Wednesdays. I had 3 out of 4 of the units met on Tuesdays at 6:30 in the morning. And this was something that our teachers had agreed on. But what I really liked about the EP process and what I've taken away from it was the structure. It was so structured. Here's A, this is what your agenda items should be. You want to have it where you have these agenda items always on your agenda for your unit meeting. Here's your rubric. Discuss the rubric because this is what you're going to be observing your teachers on. And that became the language throughout the school. Are you having cooperative learning groups? Are you utilizing time management? The goal is to continue to move you to the right where you become a level 5 teacher. I love the components that were within that rubric. It had 12 domains, and each domain had sub-indicators. And we would discuss those sub-indicators in the unit meetings, the leadership meetings, and then the big push was also data. We were data-driven before we were part of the EP process, but it made us be even more data-driven within that process because now you're talking about it in the unit meetings, and in the leadership meetings, we're discussing it even further. You're delving deeper. What standards have your students mastered? Where are their weak areas? Let's continue with our tutorials, and let's be even more specific with those tutorials, because you have a desktop review where you have to review that and go over that with our EP processes, where the person that was assigned to our school help grow, continue to grow you. It's not an I got you, it's here to help grow you. And when we learn how to perceive it as that, we were like awesome sauce. And so that was the terminology that was used. Okay, active learning, loved how I saw that. I loved your cooperative learning groups. I loved the student engagement. I loved how you were utilizing the HOTS, the student HOTS, the time management, the rigor, the differentiation. We love that. So we knew what that meant even in our PLCs, because we had PLCs prior to the EP process where we were discussing data in detail, where we were cheering our students. And we continued that with the EP process, like I shared in the leadership meetings in the units. So those processes aren't just for where you were exposed to them. You can take those, and if you really believe in them, they will work for you anywhere. And where I'm currently at, I took that. I'm like, okay, you're a new leader, Ms. Foreman or Dr. Foreman. How are you going to get it where you have buy-in? So we started with the culture and the climate, and I say a we. So my leadership team and I, we started with the culture and the climate with our staff. We needed full buy-in. We have norms. That's something else you learn in those EP processes. The norms: begin and end on time, active participation, take care of your needs, all technology on silent, and be respectful of each other in their thoughts and their opinions, but at the end of the day, professionalism. And so those are things that from the EP process I brought over to where I'm currently at as a school leader, and it's worked. We have buy-in. Are you going to get a little bit of pushback every now and then? Who doesn't in change? So we got a little bit of pushback in change, but I can sit here and share with you it's effective. We type our names in the chat when we have a meeting. We have active participation. We have our norms: begin and end on time. When you step away, please put your camera, BRB, in the chat so we know where you are, and holding people accountable. You know, people are always going to get pushback on accountability, but the EP process is 100% about accountability. So I love it because it's been helping me where I'm currently at. Well, reflecting is really key, and that was really pushed with the EP process, and that's been implemented with my current staff as well as where I was at with the EP process. And I love that. Let's internalize. That's another word for that, internalize. We've gone over A, B, and C. So let's reflect on that. Reflection is big. So for me, I reflected, okay, you're going to this new platform, new organization. What helped you grow to where you were even more effective as a leader? Because a school is only as effective as the leader that's leading the people. And so full transparency. I've always believed you don't ask people to do something you're not willing to do. So if you need me in a classroom, you roll up your sleeves. So sharing that with them. I've been where you are as a teacher. I understand it. And really developing better listening skills and really hear what's being said. And John Maxwell's a big one on that, as is Dave Ramsey as well. Because I was very fortunate in the EP process to go to the Dave Ramsey conferences, which were very key. And some of his key speakers that he had, they stressed that. And in the EP process, they stressed that as well. So just really listening, are you hearing what's being heard and receiving that? And letting everyone know it's a team effort. It's not an I, it's a we. So that's what I really value and have learned from the overall EP process. I think for me really is desegregating the observation tool, which would be your observation rubric. When you go through that, those 12 domains that the EP process, the rubric has for observations of your teachers, was so beneficial because the training that we received from the EP team was 100%. And how they held us accountable where every 2 years you had to be recertified because they wanted to make sure. What I loved about it, and I can share that now with you guys, was At first, the evidence notes were like, oh my gosh, these evidence notes. But I've taken those processes and I'm using them where I'm at now as a new leader in a new organization, where we desegregated the rubric, where we're going through the domains and the sub indicators in each of the domains. Where I'm currently at, we have 4 domains. Well, you have to have it where your teachers know what they're being observed on. I also like the process where you do a pre-conference before your first observation. That's your announced observation. So we've implemented that where I'm currently at. Why? Because it works. Then we have our 2 unannounced observations followed by the post-conference. So effective. And going through in the unit meetings, we've implemented unit meetings where our team leader is going through each domain and those sub indicators with their team members. So we're split up into a primary and a secondary, whereas where I was at with the full EP processes, again, we had 4 different units. So it worked, because you can't have it where I don't know. Yes, you do know. You're having unit meetings. We're just reiterating that in PLCs. So very effective. So I really believe in having your teachers know the rubric, implementing the rubric within their lesson plans, and implementing that within their teaching daily, and taking that up to the next level. Because remember, EP is effective educator process. If you have effective teaching, you have effective learning.
Don't forget to tune in each day to hear more content from effective educators and Yes Inc. history. Thanks for watching.